Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. So today we just bumped into Gurpal Singh Uppal, who's a local immigration lawyer. He's got offices back home in India, and he's got his office in East London here and in Southall. He's been doing a lot of seva. He's been helping out a lot of people. Coming on Punjab Radio on the Thursdays, I think it's 12 till 2, I think the show, yeah. And he's been giving out free advice for the past couple of years, and he's done a lot of seva.
Decades, actually.
Yeah, decades, sorry. It has been a long time. It has. Just me and that. I thought, you know what, it's only been a couple of years, but it has been a very long time.
It seems like a couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. But we was just going to talk about Sikh hate crime that's been on the rise for the past maybe couple of years. And recently it's just hit a real high peak with a couple of Sikhs that have been attacked in America and Canada. And, you know, they were old, fragile, they were bloodied up, and it came to a shock to the community. People were really surprised. Why is it still going on? So we just want to get your views on that, and, you know, living in the 21st century, why is it still happening?
I think one thing to note this day and age is the Sikh identity has become more popular. We see a lot more Sikh turban, young gentlemen, elderly people. I grew up with a generation where maybe having a turban, having a beard wasn't as, I wouldn't say popular, it was maybe not the thing.
Yes.
But people are now proud of their identity and happy to show their identity. And this comes into media, mainstream media, identity in terms of local towns, villages, and now across the world. And we've got people like Ravi Khalsa with his identity, showing what langar and seva, the concept of seva is. But unfortunately, we still have a small minority, and I suppose the minority is always going to be that see people for their skin colour, they're different to them. And if they're different to them, they don't know how to act, and they retaliate. And it's easy to retaliate against someone who's maybe weaker than you. And I'm sure if that person was trying to attack someone who's bigger, stronger, younger and fitter, would he even dare attempt to do so? But yes, sometimes it's the frail, it's going to be the weak that gets attacked, especially when there's group and hate crime around the world. It doesn't matter which community it is, whether it's a Jewish community, the Sikh community, Hindu community, it should be tolerated. And we can talk about hate crime in India, in Punjab, not just around the world. But it's obviously a lot more shocking now with social media.
Yes.
Things now get picked up and carried around the world in seconds, and we act back in seconds. So maybe it's something that's always been there, but it's something that's now highlighted more and more. But it's always very, very sad. But how do we get over this? And the only way can be education and re-educating the community. And having a Sikh identity itself is a great way of educating people, because people will turn around and think, well, why has that person got a turban? Why does he grow long hair? And for some people, educated people, it's a topic of conversation when you have the opportunity to educate people. But when you don't have that, and you're right, post 9/11, we saw the backlash and attacks against the Sikhs, because a lot of people, and it goes to America, didn't consider us Sikhs because they didn't know what Sikh was. They thought we were Muslims, because you have people in the Middle East that wear turbans which are non-Sikhs.
But that still didn't make it okay. I mean, it doesn't matter, even if you know, even if you're a Muslim with a beard and turban, we'll still stand for them. As being Sikhs, we've been taught by our gurus and by our forefathers that we defend the rights of everybody, every religion, every race, every colour, anyone that's out there that's weak and that's vulnerable, and if they get targeted, it's our responsibility as Sikhs to defend them. But it's unfortunate that we're living in this day and age where, you know, from being warriors to what we've become in this day and age, where, you know, we become actual victims of crime all the time. And it's very saddening. And I think that, do you think the government should do something about it? Do you think the governments do play a big part in what happens around the world and how they can change the image of, you know, the Sikhs, and put out a good message and say, look, please refrain from doing hate crime, because it's destroying communities, it's really causing big problems in communities?
I think it'd be interesting, first of all, to check what the actual figures are on hate crime and hate crimes with different communities around the world. But I think the way forward is to educate people. And recently you've seen Dhanmanjit Desi go over to America, and he's obviously doing his rounds, and he's meeting people of other faith groups. And I think I recently saw him with a Muslim faith leader or an individual who also was a female but had a headscarf on. So when you see people like that and you see them in mainstream, it will make people talk. rightly or wrongly, but whenever you have discussion, it then opens up that whole concept of, well, hate crime, why is it happening? Because unless you have dialogue, unless you can communicate these figures out and you debate it, there's going to be no resolution to it.